I am a biased scoundrel, a knave and a fiend. Kill the Snitch has always been my favorite trial, and by the looks of it, always will be. And so of course I think this trial's finale is the pioneering model, the perfect example which every trial afterwards has tried and failed to live up to, which is why I also think that Kill the Snitch being the first full trial all of us ever saw from all the way back in closed beta was largely integral to the game's success because it showed us how promising the game was and could be. Maybe it's a weird kind of declinism from me, or I'm wearing rose-tinted glasses or whatever you want to call it, but let's look at this. From a narrative standpoint, the way the tension gets built up in Kill the Snitch is very effective. The majority of the trial is just you pushing the snitch along this track, and in your first time playing, the further you go and the longer you go, the more you wonder what's going to happen when you get to the end of the track. Because we're investing so much into the pushing of the snitch, that means the payoff has to be there with the high intensity climax, the electrocution scene. These are big expectations to fulfill. This has to be the most intense moment of the trial, with all hell breaking loose, multiple X-Pop chasing us all around, the gameplay has to be engaging, and Tom Salta has to perform on the score, and all the voice acting, both from the victim and the prime asset, need to ride this wave as well. In Kill the Snitch, all of these aspects do deliver at the highest level. If we want to talk about the gameplay, let's look at this great map made by Best Edits. The way everything is spaced out shows so much smart thought and intention by Red Barrels. The electrocution chamber itself gives the player just the right amount of time to see Coil or anyone else coming, to get off the lever at the last second and run. And look at all these different loops the player can play with. These aren't just hypothetical, I've used every one of these loops myself, so the chamber is situated in just the right spot to reward the player for making maximum use of the environment. The fact that multiple enemies can appear, and are likely to, is also lovely. The big grunt who patrols the first gate tends to follow the snitch as it's pushed along the track, so it's natural he ends up at the electrocution chamber as well. Same case for the hard grunt who patrols evidences. The pusher, pitcher, or imposter can also spawn and wreak havoc if the electrocution goes on for long enough. On co-op and on solo both, I think the appearance of multiple chasers is necessary to make the finale feel like a finale. I'll watch old playthroughs on YouTube of people getting to this part of the trial, and it is a treat to see how everyone responds to all the chaos. Because where in the game should things become as crazy as can be, if not the finale of the trial? Also, do we even need to talk about the music, the voice acting? Maybe we take it for granted because it is always so excellent. Well Done features such a nasty adaptation of the main musical motif. We're not even playing a horror game anymore. This is like the most Call of Duty action hero soundtrack in the game, and it fits, and it works. The Snitch is a very pitiful kind of creature, cold mad as hell. Look how unhinged and psychotic he sounds, even more than his usual baseline, which is impressive. And all these elements, this uninhibited display of emotion, combine and clash in contribution to the madness going on all around throughout this finale. Very great to me. So we will just go down the list and talk about each trial's finale in sequence of release date and how all of them are worse than Kill the Snitch. Not really, because each trial plays out their finale a bit differently in many little ways, and even though none of them hit as hard for me as the Snitches, I appreciate that Red Barrels tries to change things up with every iteration, because if every finale was just this reskinned carbon copy of Snitch, the formula would start to feel very stale very fast. But that may be a topic for another video. Grind the bad apples. This already has many differences from Snitch, since only one player instead of 4 can progress the objective by pushing the boat, and the boat itself is stuck at the end of this wide dead-end wall instead of sitting in a centralized open space with many exits in every direction. Actually, I feel this finale can hardly be called inferior to the Snitches. The same intensity of gameplay is also really up there. You push the boat down the ramp into the final area where all the lights are burning a very dreary, blinding red, and it's this lighting which carries the twisted atmosphere, the oppressive dread which really feels like we have made our descent into hell. Yet this is the only main trial in the game where we don't kill a living human victim. But you think about what we're doing symbolically? So, all the right atmospheric darkness is there. And then pushing the boat. Sound design is sweet, sound design is maybe always sweet, but the grinders whirring very loudly and devouring the wooden boat serves well to ramp the tension. The fact that you can rely only on the peek buttons to check if Gooseberry is running up on you, it's a simple thing, but it works to great effect, because we see fulfilled the universal fear that when we turn around, we see something coming after us from behind. Like Kill the Snitch, there are great loops to play with in both the buildings to the right and left. Gameplay feels good in this regard, but unlike Kill the Snitch, there's hardly ever more than just Gooseberry chasing you. I think in previous patches on high difficulties, the Night Hunter used to be a lot more active in the building with the showers. Unfortunately, this doesn't seem to be so true anymore. In any case, this Dearth of Chasers is a bit of a weakness for co-op play in my mind, especially in this design, because you'll have one player pushing the boat, and then, what about the other three? We stand around playing patty cake. Yeah, we can distract Gooseberry, and we can rotate between pushing duty, but the prime assets are always hard-coded to hard-focus the player doing the objective in these finales. Also, a strange thing is that there is no finale music playing during this sequence. This trial, as well as Cleanse the Orphans, which we'll talk about next, are the only 2 of 9 so far which do not play intense finale music during the actual finale. The track named Punish Them Daddy, which is the climactic soundtrack, plays not during, but only after you finish grinding the bad apples. And so while you're grinding the boat, if Gooseberry gets on you, all you hear is generic chase music. These are good tense tracks in their own right, of course, and I can't really complain, but it is unusual. I guess Punish Them Daddy, if you listen to it, it doesn't sound like something that would be very fitting for the finale itself, and it does sound more appropriate solely as an exit rush track. I think Tom Salta usually likes to create finale tracks that sound good during both moments, but this isn't that sort of thing. Cleanse the Orphans is a special case. No enemy, not even Gooseberry, disturbs us as we're doing our butchery. 2 theories as to why this is, and these are not even mutually exclusive. The first, and probably the more commonly agreed upon one, is that the developers did test a version of the trial where Gooseberry does chase you around the chapel, and they did not like it. Like, if you think about it, the loops would be weird and bad. I don't even know where you would go. Out through the co-op doors into the cemetery and then back inside, or out the main chapel doors and through the orphanage proper. That's so long-winded and weird. I think it's a natural consequence of the chapel being shaped like just a long hallway with only 2 exits, and the tension would be at risk of fizzling out during these excessive, overwrought loops. So maybe they decided they instead want the cinematic entrance of Gooseberry showing up after you finish the objective, when you've got blood raining down everywhere and she can aura farm in the doorway. Unless you're a genius who takes Bibsuta's peaceful pathway through the back, then you won't see her. Anyway, my point is, you can't have this beautiful entrance if Gooseberry is chasing you around the chapel the whole time prior. Unless she leaves after you're done the objective and then comes back shortly after, all freshened up or something. But yeah, that'd still be weird. As for my second theory, I wonder if Red Barrels wanted us to appreciate more fully the true horror in this act of sawing. They thought that if it was just another intense, harried cat and mouse type sequence, that would detract from the experience. They needed our full, undivided attention for this, which is why this is the most hands-on, most visceral execution from us reagents so far. We have to hear the guy screaming and watch the blood pool on the table completely uninterrupted. I like this choice. I don't know if this was their intent, but I like it anyways. And yet, if you want to speak from a gameplay perspective, of course this does fall flat, and very much so. It's like you got through everything this trial had to throw at you, all for the big climactic finale to be an easy breezy victory lap. So there is this tonal clash I'm not fond of, which in itself dulls the horror for subsequent playthroughs. Because I'm not thinking, damn, this is a very bad thing we are doing to this fellow. I'm thinking, yeah, I practically beat the trial already, the challenge is over. And yes, this is partially a result of desensitization, which inevitably happens with all the bad things we do to the victims in the trials given enough playthroughs, so I suppose the true finale is in the exit rush, where you encounter Gooseberry, then a big grunt, then another big grunt, and maybe Gooseberry again if she enters the EIG in time. This is probably why the finale music, A Cross to Bear, is split into a peaceful half and a hectic half, and the peaceful half is for the sawing, and the hectic half is for the exit rush. So you've got to evade all these enemies on the long sprint out, and I guess that's a fair substitute for a proper finale, but the exit rush is already present every other trial too. I might not smile that much. Vindicate the Guilty, the loops are a bit restricting. Like, you'll play this finale out the exact same way every single time because it's so solved, and this staleness is exacerbated by the fact that Coil has for a long time been really glitchy and unresponsive around these doors. Double exacerbation, Coil is the only threat in this finale as well. What a weak and pathetic man. Then there's the electric panels you have to do to unlock the wheels. These feel very, trivial. Like they were an afterthought in the development of this finale. Apparently it's not enough for us to turn the wheels, so they're gonna throw a few red buttons at us, and we gotta click those beforehand too. Okay, so what's bad is bad, but what is great is really great. The VA for the judge deserves our applause. When this trial released October 26, 2023, it was all everybody was talking about, how horrible we felt hearing her beg Coil for help. That goes hard. That goes really hard. Especially because she has a lot of fight in her to begin with, unlike most of the other victims. She's so mad to be here. Rightfully so. It feels good to get a variety of emotional expressions and responses from our victims. And the execution is also very brutal in an ugly way, in the best of ways. Crunchy knees, ouch. Crunchy forearms, ouch. This contraption, with the way all the hammers are set up, is so creative in how horrific it is, and it's just nice to look at. I would feel very bad to be her. Also, the judge's seat, the way it's just blanketed in so much viscera, like you'll see eyeballs speared on these points. This is wonderful design. This is wonderful. Again, stuff we shall not take for granted. The finale track for this one, Judgment, yet another masterpiece from Tom Salta. If you asked this man to underperform just once, he might begin to sweat profusely. What in the world is this sound? This sound which sounds like a grandpa snoring. I do not know. It's just insane. I am filled with dread. This is purely scary and uncomfortable to listen to. Lock in. I think if you didn't have any experience with the Outlast trials at all, but only listen to the soundtrack, you would think this game is 10 times scarier than it actually is. Tom Salta is working. But Coyle's voice lines in this one, he is almost a parody of himself. He doesn't really seem to take this as seriously as the Snitch's execution. With the Snitch, he was frothing at the mouth to see us poking at his toy. With the judge, it's like he's playing a game. He doesn't really care if we kill her.
If she ain't guilty, then why is she on trial?
Is literally a parody of his own voice line.
If you ain't guilty, then why are you running?
Which is also a parody in its own right, but you know. I don't mind so much for him to be a bit less invested, but maybe I'm also a bit less invested, because the gameplay here is pretty lackluster, as we discussed. Pervert the Futterman. I strongly dislike this trial. I think it's my least enjoyed, least played main trial in the game. I'm sorry. My expectations were raised because I think the factory looked so gorgeous from the first gameplay trailer we ever saw of the Outlast trials back in 2021. The lighting there was stark and plain and cold, and this made it feel like Outlast 1 in a very lovely sort of way. The modern redesign gives us instead a kind of sleepy greenish blue. I don't like this. They were going for something. I don't know what that something was. Apparently, I wasn't the target audience. That's okay. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot you can do with a toy factory in a horror setting, and that potential was never fully realized in my opinion. That and the gameplay is such a slog in so many aspects. But we're talking about the finale. Does the finale redeem the rest of the trial? I think it's just okay. They do this split tasks type of objective, where 1 or 2 people go turn the valves while the other teammates wait to pump the gas. It sounds nice on paper, and it does provide good purpose for all the players in a co-op lobby, so this addresses the complaint I had about grinding the bad apples, right? Kind of. But if you play this trial on solo, it is not a great amount of fun. The incinerator section feels completely removed or detached from the actual burning of the toy. Like, you turn the valve so that you can pump the gas, but you don't feel the relation between the two. And on the trial's release, March 5th, 2024, Gooseberry was set to spawn the moment you pressed down on the pump anytime you did so. It made for some ridiculous and frustrating gameplay. You do all this ugly work of evading the big runs to turn the valve, then you show up to pump the gas, Gooseberry spawns, then you have to give her a little runaround before you can pump the gas again, but you come back and you can't because you need to turn the valve again. And on hard difficulties, you'll inch upwards in progress by just a little bit each time, and it's very tedious, not especially challenging in any engaging way, just tedious. Nowadays, Gooseberry spawns more randomly, so you aren't strictly punished for, making progress towards completing the objective. Still, I am not impressed with this gameplay. The big grunts never leave the incinerator section to bother you at the gas pumping, which is intentional. They are contained and only patrol the valves. So these do feel like 2 separate, unrelated environments. I think it would have just been better to simplify it all and have the gas pumpable at all times, and Gooseberry, alongside a big grunt or 2, can chase all 4 of you players around the plaza with loops left open inside the incinerator. Or something. That's not really a good suggestion, honestly. It sounds like kill a snitch though, right? Because I am a biased scoundrel, a knave, and a fiend. I understand the game cannot just have rinse and repeat, kill the snitch style finales for every trial. I'm glad they tried something new with Toy Factory's finale. And just as has been the case for the previous finales, music, voice acting, both top notch. The execution of the deviant speaks for itself. Poison the Medicine's finale makes me frown. We're seeing something of a trend here. Atmosphere and voice acting and music all remain great, but the gameplay continues to suffer. Franco is a ranged enemy. We are sitting ducks inside the hold of the ship, stuffing little white baggies into juicy red pockets. There is no counterplay to Franco banging open a door, which we can't hear by the way because the whine of the buzzsaw and the screaming of our victims totally drowned out his approach, and so unlike in previous finales where we could check for Coyle or Gooseberry with our eyeballs, here we have to check for Franco with our health bars. Oh, I got shot. That means it's time to go. what are the loops in this section? Or if we don't want to play around loops, then where's the intended cover we are meant to use against Franco's bullets? The hold may as well be a dead end the way there's a single path out in either direction. I can't solve this finale in gameplay without the use of a blind mine, or by dragging Franco super far out. And even if I do that, I have no way of knowing how soon he'll happen to wander back down to the hold, because Franco is a dumb wanderer. That guy kinda goes anywhere for no reason. Maybe I am unwise and understand little about the workings of the world. Is this a skill issue? I swear this finale is so badly designed. Well, if being uncomfortable in gameplay is bad, being uncomfortable through the execution is great. This is abhorrent work. This, even above Cleanse the Orphans, now makes for the most visceral and hands-on execution. Horrible. I just wish the victims weren't so muffled. I wish they were a lot more vocal. I think that would have added a great deal. Like, you guys need to cry out. Break my heart. They just turn out to be a couple of squirmy guys, and they complain a little bit. That's underwhelming. It is very rare that we fail in the voice acting department. I mean, this isn't even a failure. It was more like an absence. Franco can get an abscess. I actually hate that guy. Back in time, actually, I should mention that this finale is made quite a bit better because they put in more goodly effort to make it a finale. Lights on, the stage is set, we have ourselves a veritable cutscene. As much as I hate Franco, he might be the greatest showman. I love this entrance. Then you can kiss him on the lips and go break your ankles on a pile of rotting squid. The game is crazy. Just 3 more trial finales to cover and that's it. Pleasure the Prosecutor. This trial, like the Toy Factory, also disappoints me. As for the finale, I mean, when I don't like a trial in and of itself, I can hardly rouse myself to say much about its finale. It's cool in concept. The puzzle with the colored lights has a somewhat juvenile feeling. It's almost funny. But it is a good puzzle. It's simple, it works. It's so hectic that to pay much attention to the order of the lights is a real challenge. So that is good. Bad things happen to the Prosecutor in sequence in a nice way. It's this progressive, relentless horror. It just keeps getting worse and there is no reprieve. That is strong. Except if you pay attention, it's kinda silly. This mannequin stabs him in the arm with a pointy needle or a screw type thing and somehow that takes his whole arm off? Hello? When I saw his arms coming off, I thought he was going to get the deadload treatment. He only got halfway there. I fully expect that to happen in a future trial. It might be nice to look at. The gameplay is better than Poison the Medicine. Here there is some counterplay to Franco's uniquely ranged attacks. You can play it patient, find a hiding spot or a bit of darkness from which you can hunker down and watch the light sequence play out. Then, when Franco patrols away, you can go in and press the buttons. It's a completely different way to play a finale sequence. It works just fine. I wish I could be more of a fan, but I find the rest of the trial so noxious that how can I disperse the malignant humor of my liver? Look at the Prosecutor. He, like the mules, is a muffled loser. Cry out in pain, buddy. Look at the bad things happening to you. I can't believe him. He is ruining my Outlast Trials experience, also he can die in his preferred manner of indignity. Is he unwise? But really, I want a heart-wrenching performance from our victims, as is classical, as is beautiful. Which is why I am happy to announce Liquidate the Union, the first good Franco trial since his very conception. This one's great. The finale is great. I think it has the most potential to confuse you on the first playthrough, which did happen to me, I'm ashamed to admit, but that can be easily overlooked. Take a gander. What a state of terrible panic the Union boss is in.
Oh, God! Let me die!
That is haunting. I want to shed a tear for my boy. I mean, it can't be anything but funny because you'll be playing this trial on psychosurgery and all hell is breaking loose and then you'll hear him start shouting,
Kill me! Kill me! Kill me! Kill me!
Buddy, I am trying. You need to relax in there. Hot cake, best voice acting of any trial victim so far, which is a very, very bold statement, by the way, when you consider the roster of voice actors this game has to offer. Faker, Chovy, Zeka, Shanks, Knight, Darkwing, Xiaohu, Showmaker. Dare we throw the Union boss on top? This is probably the largest arena for any finale. Like just the way the safety posters are all spread out throughout the meat factory, Red Barrel's actually turned into massive geniuses for this one, to design a trial around the ranged prime. One must themselves become the ranged prime. So we started smacking hearts against the wall. It works, it really works. The wide open layout, the 2 floors, they give way for so much placement, for so many points of cover for us to hide behind, so we can actually kite Franco around and it feels like real gameplay and not like, well, what do we do except force ourselves to take damage for fun? I am very pleased with this. Red Barrels might have taken a while to find their footing, but they did eventually, and I hope they can continue to make beautiful finales to the level of Kill the Snitch, or maybe even higher. Oh, what am I saying? It is not possible to outperform Kill the Snitch. Take this as a challenge, but it is not one in which you can hope to succeed. Hey, we're not even done. Grill the Paul Nutrition. This finale is kinda standard. a good standard, the acid guns impress me with their creativity, and it's nice the way everything melts right off him once you start washing him well. I almost want to say comical. It's comical, isn't it? It looks so silly. We know how horrifying this is. I mean, do we? Because it's so visually laughable to just spray liquid at a guy as he's wheeled back and forth on this dumb little rail. He's sputtering about, acting like this is all a mild inconvenience. Look at Paul Nutrition. He's not even well nourished by the looks of it. Otto and Aurora's intro speech before the finale is very cute. I like it. It gives us a very telling glimpse into their personalities. They are such charmers, I think. Otto wants to split us from groin to chops. What are chops, by the way? Like, what are you even saying? The gameplay is okay. There are these kinds of mini loops, but what good are they when Aurora is ranged and will really mess you up with a single vial? Because this is all close range enough that one vial, one instance of vomiting almost guarantees a follow-up hit by Otto, so you can't use these loops reliably. Do you have to go into the math valve hallway? I think that's okay. That's probably meta, you can buy yourself a fair amount of time. I think this is still a much better rendition on what Pervert the Futterman failed at, the conditional twin task objective progression style. Sorry, that's a string of complete nonsense words. In Grill the Paul Nutrition, put in the prerequisite objective, the pump for the guns, only 2 feet away from the guns themselves, saves all of us from a massive headache. The challenge is shaved down only to making sufficient time for yourself undisturbed from Otto and Aurora, rather than having this bloated, over-demanding deal where you have to have first enough free time undisturbed to run all the way inside the incinerator and then tell the big grunt to be gone and then turn the valve and then run back to the pump and pray gooseberries isn't spawning, otherwise you can go back to the incinerator and turn the valve again. I'm not laughing. Grill the Paul Nutrition does this way better. It's just simple and it's just good. And the relationship, the communication between teammates is so much cleaner and easier. My gun is flaccid. Okay, I'll pump. The pumping is sufficient. Okay, I'm not flaccid anymore. I'm spraying Paul Nutrition. Yeah, pumping, spraying. That's easy, isn't it? I don't know if you noticed, but it became so redundant that I just stopped mentioning it. Every single main trial, not named Kill the Snitch, has only the prime asset as the sole threat during the finale. And Cleanse the Orphans doesn't even have that. I think this is the main shortcoming of most finales, because the prime asset should be the object of my terror. In co-op play in particular, they become nothing more than our little pet and we take them for a nice walk around the objective, and then we kill the victim and we make off with the winnings. Really beautiful life. It's a big demand, I know, but I think that working the map design specifically so that 1 or 2 of the main patrol enemies are likely or even guaranteed to wander into the finale area will make for really great intense gameplay. I think that's the key thing separating Kill the Snitch from all the rest. And you would be right to deem me a hypocrite, because I just complained about there being too many enemies for solo players during the Pervert the Futterman ending, and here I am asking for more enemies in every finale. Let's be conditional. I am very surprised that to this day, the amount of enemies in a trial has nothing to do with how many players are in your party. There is no scaling in that way. So I think that maybe for solo play, having only the prime asset present during the finale could be good and appropriate, but for co-op, bring out the grunts, bring out the Jaeger, the Berserker, the Night Hunter. I want to see them all over us on the final objective. As for the loops, I talked about loops a lot. I could be dumb and unimaginative to think that having a good variety of loops is the only way to make gameplay feel good for a trial finale. Liquidate the Union invented good gameplay without loops, but that's different because Franco was ranged. I don't know, I just think that if every trial managed to link their pathways the way Kill the Snitch does, everything would feel so nice. I know it's not always possible because it takes so much planning and designing everything from the ground up, all in service of a smooth flowing finale. That is a lot to ask. Well, thanks for watching. Come, look into my eyes and say you never loved me. Look into